Hey friends, today I am sharing with you a list of long-lasting annuals in the garden because we want to be smart gardeners, right? We want to buy the plants that give us the most bang for our buck. So these plants will definitely last from the beginning of the season all the way through till a very hard freeze. They're all going to be annuals. So that means that we're going to have them for that nice, beautiful, long, extended growing season in the spring, summer, and into fall. I have put these in my garden year after year, and without a doubt, these are the ones that will last all the way through the hot, humid summer here in North Carolina. It is going to be a lot of fun because I know, y'all, it is fall, right? But we're already thinking about next year. We're thinking about next year's garden and how we're going to plan. And so I really do want to give you this list of annuals that really will thrive throughout the entire growing season in your garden. Now, depending on where you are will depend on when you're going to plant these. Typically, we want to plant all of our annuals after our last frost date. And because these are so hardy, they tend to like those warmer climates. So we want to wait until our last frost date. For me in North Carolina, a zone 8-8, that's somewhere around mid-April. And then, like I said, they will go all the way through here till the end of November, depending on when you get your first hard freeze. So without further ado, let's jump right on in. So number one, and this is not in like my top one and my lowest one. They're just all mixed in there together. Lantana. So Lantana is often overlooked in the spring at the garden center because in the springtime, right, we don't have those really high temperatures yet. And Lantana thrives in the heat, the humidity, maybe the dry areas as well, but it loves the heat. Lantana will come in all sizes, right? You can get some of the perennial ones that are massive. You can get ones that are much more petite that go really well in a hanging basket or a container. And then they come in a wide range of colors. Some of my favorites, of course, are like the yellows and the oranges and the reds, because not only do they bring massive color to my garden, they also bring in the pollinators, your butterflies, your bees. They really are attracted to Lantana. Now, Lantana does do really, really well in containers, especially if you have a long growing season like I do. At the end of the season, in fact, Jackson fusses at me when I have him pull out Lantana because the root system is so extensive. That is what makes it a great annual that lasts throughout the entire growing season, because it will put on a very vigorous root system. If you have it in a container, make sure it is a nice large container. Otherwise, you may not be able to keep enough water on it to go through the end of the fall. So Lantana, absolutely, without a doubt, hands down, is one of my absolute favorite long-lasting annuals. Then we come to grasses. Annual grasses bring such color and movement to the garden. You cannot go wrong. I think a lot of times people will overlook having grasses in the garden. And while I do adore perennial grasses, I also love my annual grasses because I can often get colors in my annual grasses that I cannot get in my perennial grasses. For example, right, the purple fountain grass. Purple fountain grass, I do not have a perennial option for me here in North Carolina. So every year, without fail, I will use purple fountain grass in some capacity in the garden. It just brings this really, it's near black foliage. It is a really rich purple. You love it because it puts the plumes on. It brings movement to the garden. So you've got purple fountain grass. Then you have got like fireworks. Fireworks is more of a red. So it has that reddish hue to it, white plumes on it. Again, don't have a really great perennial option for that. And then you can have greens, you can have some whites in there. Like with Skyrocket, you have got that green and that white together. So the perennial grasses, again, have a very extensive root system. They do fantastic in the landscape. Yes, you absolutely can put them in a container, but again, it's going to be just like your Lantana. You want to make sure it's a really big pot, that you use fresh soil every year when you're planting those annuals and those annual grasses in those containers. That way they have plenty of room to grow. With your grasses, the more water you give it, the happier they are. That's why I have been putting the grasses just straight in the ground, because they can have more access to water and nutrition in the landscape than they can into a pot. Next, Coleus. If you have been around me for a hot second, you know how much I absolutely adore Coleus. Now, Coleus is great because you're going to get massive color with no flowers. You don't have to have flowers to have color in your garden. The Color Blaze line of Coleus from Proven Winners is also such a great bang for your buck because it can do sun, it can do shade, and it can do anything in between. So it is exceptionally versatile. Also, they come in a ton of different colors, right? So you could have that Newly Noir, which is that really deep, rich purple that looks black. You can have Lime Time, that is that bright, solid chartreuse. You can have Wicked Witch that combines the two of them, right? So you have the dark and you have the lime green. Literally just about any color other than purple and blue that I can think of that is not going to be in a Coleus, right? So you have this wide range of colors. Also, you have a wide range of sizes. Wicked Witch, for example, can get really large. Put it in the landscape. You're going to love it. A couple of years ago, we put it in our privacy berm, and at the end of the season, it was nearly as tall as I am. It was every bit of 4 feet tall. And when we planted it in mass, and mass can be like 3 plants, y'all, it makes a huge impact. So you can have the ones that are really tall. Then Proven Winners has the Mini Me collection. So you've got Mini Me Chartreuse and you've got Mini Me Watermelon. These are going to be nice and petite in that 12 to 18 inches tall. Great for containers, and it's also great for the landscape in the front of the landscape. Our personal favorite right now is that Mini Me Chartreuse. We used it in mass here in the Signature Garden this year, and it was electric and stunning, and it just drew everybody's eye to the back of the garden and made a huge pop of color. Also, did you know that there is trailing Coleus? That's right. So the Drop series from Proven Winners. So you've got Chocolate Drop, Strawberry Drop, Cherry Drop. So these are the trailing Coleuses. And when you first buy them, you think, well, they're not really going to trail. Honey, yes, they do. So you can put them in hanging baskets. You can put them in hay racks or some sort of container, and it will trail over. As a side note, they also make great ground covers because they won't get really tall, but they will go out. Now, they're not going to root, so don't worry about them overtaking your garden, but they do make exceptional ground covers with those fun pops of color. So if you're not putting Coleus in your garden, you're missing out. Now, as soon as you hit a first hard freeze or a frost, it's going to get zapped just like that because they do love it hot. However, it is going to give you gorgeous color from spring all the way to the fall. Another annual that is underrated in the springtime is Portulaca. Portulaca is, again, if you've never grown it, you need to do it, people. It is more like a sedum type annual. So it has the foliage on it has a waxy kind of texture to it. And this is what makes it so incredibly heat tolerant and drought tolerant. Portulaca is known for its really large, vibrant blooms. You get them in the very hot colors. So there's yellows, reds, oranges, all of these different kind of shades of those hot colors that not only make a huge pop in your garden, but the pollinators love it. When we first started growing the Mojave Yellow, it was an improved version just a couple of years ago, we were blown away with the number of honeybees that would cover the Portulaca every single day. So Portulaca has a low kind of trailing spreading habit. So if you put it in the ground, it is going to be low and it's going to spread out. This is something you're going to want to put at the front of your garden because it does stay so low. It does magnificently well in containers. I have used it in hanging baskets. I think it was last summer I did the fuchsia, Mojave fuchsia, in a container. I put a mangave in there and it was gorgeous. The Portulaca just took off and actually kind of covered up the mangave a little bit. I couldn't be mad about it because it was so gorgeous. So you can put it in those containers and it will trail over. Again, as soon as you get a first hard freeze or frost, it is going to get zapped. But you know what? Here in North Carolina, this year, we didn't even have a frost. We went straight to a hard freeze, and that happened here in the middle of November. So using those portulacas throughout the entire growing season is just going to bring a big pop of color. The bugs don't like them. They're not fussy feeders. You don't have to over-fertilize them or really worry about them too much. So Portulaca is going to be one of your best friends in your garden. I think we can all agree that we want to attract as many pollinators and hummingbirds to our garden as possible. Well, the salvia is going to do that. Not only is the salvia going to bring in those sweet little garden friends, it is literally going to last you the entire season. And also, as a side note, depending on your growing zone, if you're kind of warm like I am, oftentimes these annual salvias will really be perennials for us. So not only can they last us one season, but they can actually come back and last us another season. Again, come in tons of colors and even in sizes. So first you have kind of that rockin' series. The rockin' series are going to be your big salvias. So they're going to be in that 3.5 foot range. You can do the deep purple, you can do fuchsia, you can do blue suede shoes, you can do play in the blues. So there's lots of those colors that you get to choose from. And honestly, I have not found that the pollinators or the hummingbirds really prefer one over the other. They love them all because they have those nice big blooms. Again, so they will last. They thrive in the heat and the humidity. You don't have to worry about planting a huge like gallon or 2 gallon salvia. Every year we will add the Unplugged series or the Rockin' series salvia to the signature garden and our gardens at the house, and we will use those grande size containers. That's that 4.25 cup, and they will take off rapidly. So if the Rockins are going to be a little bit too big, go to the Unplugged. So there's quite a few colors in there. So you have the Unplugged pink, you've got the Unplugged so blue, white, and red. These are going to be more petite in stature. So for me, like did the Unplugged so blue in front of my roses. I didn't need something super tall because it was going to cover up my roses. I needed that medium size. And again, pollinators love them. So even though it's going to be a little bit of a different bloom than the Rockin' salvias, they still love it, and it will literally go all the way through that hard freeze. In fact, just a couple, like 2 weeks ago, I took my Unplugged So Blues and I just cut them to the ground. I still have green growth even after a 25, 26 degree night. So there's a nice low mound of green growth. I cut off all of the top growth and I'm just going to leave it. Mulch it really nice and give it a good little blanket to help insulate it. And odds are it's going to come back for me in the spring. So add salvias to that sun garden for a long lasting color. All right, so I can hear my shade garden people right now going, well, that's great, Jenny, but these are all like full sun plants. What about us in the shade? Well, I've got you. Don't worry about that. So here we go. And a lot of these can do sun or shade. So here we go. We've already done Coleus. We're doing Caladiums. Caladiums are fantastic. The Heart to Heart series from Proven Winners, the vast majority of those Caladiums can do sun or shade. There are certain ones that are shade only. So when you buy your Caladiums, make sure you're checking out your tag to see if it's a sun Caladium, a shade Caladium, or it can do both. But Caladiums will handle the heat and humidity of our summers and are absolute rock stars throughout the entire growing season. I was fortunate enough to kind of test trial in my garden at least one of the new introductions that is coming out next year. This is the Heart to Heart Creme Brulee. Y'all, I had it in a container. I planted it directly as a corm because I didn't have it already sprouted. Planted in a container mid-summer, and it was till a hard freeze that actually zapped it. It was stunning throughout the entire end of this season. When the rest of the garden was kind of looking a little sad, this Creme Brulee Caladium was gorgeous. I had to be a little kind of strategic when I was taking pictures because other stuff around it wasn't looking so good, but the Creme Brulee was looking great because they do thrive. They actually love the hotter and the more humid it is, the happier they are. And for me in the southeast of the United States, that is music to my ears. So look for those Heart to Heart Caladiums. Again, come in a range of colors. You want something, you know, bright and light. So there's like White Star or White Wonder. There's the Fast Flash, which is going to be more of a darker. So you can have pinks, you can have reds. There's some that are even close to being kind of like what I would call like a brown orange color. So there's a lot of colors that you get to choose from. And there is a Caladium for you. In the landscape, in a container, or hanging basket, love Caladiums for sure. Also, for my shade people, Browallia. Now, this is probably one of those plants that is absolutely way underused. Browallia for me is one of those plants that I have to have in my shade garden every single year, specifically the Endless Illumination Browallia. This is a beautiful mounded habit to it. It thrives in the shade, so mine typically will get morning sun, 4 to 5 hours of morning sun, and then it gets a break in the afternoon. And they do these really large star-shaped blue with a little hint of a purple in them, and they are gorgeous. They are not heavy feeders. The bugs don't like them. They're just one of those rock stars that reliably give me beautiful flowers throughout the entire growing season until the hard freeze and frost. You're going to recognize it. I see this a lot. Until the freeze and the frost comes and gets it. We had it at the entrance bed here at the nursery, and it wasn't until it hit 25, 26 that it actually zapped it. So Browallia is a huge one for your shade garden. Another plant that can do sun or shade depending on the variety are Impatiens. So the sun patients, obviously, they like the sun, right? So sun patients are one of those plants that you will, once you grow it once, you'll never be able to have it, not have it in your garden again. And the sun patients come in a huge range of colors, from white to red to orange to pinks to soft lilac colors, you name it. These sun patients will get some height to them, so they can get in that 3-ish foot range. So they give you a huge presence in the garden. I personally would recommend putting them in the landscape so that way they can have their roots go, and they are gorgeous. If you have shade, then we want to think about the double Impatiens, right? So we have the Rocapucos. The Rocapuco Impatiens are a beautiful double bloom, nice mounded habit to them. Again, massive color range from white to pink to orange to a soft kind of wisteria purple color. You name it, you can get it in the Rocapucos. And those are going to be for your shade gardens. So whether you have sun or shade, Impatiens are going to be a great one. It's just going to depend on those sun conditions as to which one you're going to want to add to the garden. When I have folks come to me here at the garden center and maybe they're a new gardener, right? So maybe they're just getting started. So they're a little apprehensive about adding color to their garden. Or maybe they are a seasoned gardener, but they're in a season of life where they just don't have time to fuss over plants. Without a doubt, I always turn them to begonias. Now, I tell them, this is not your grandmama's begonias. These are not the old-timey begonias, and you kind of turn your nose up at them and you just think, ugh, no. Y'all, begonias are fantastic, and there are a ton of different kinds, shapes, and colors. So first off, we have the Surefire Begonia series. So the Surefires can do sun or shade, literally anywhere in between. I have grown them in both conditions, and they thrive. You can have them in a wide range of flower colors and foliage colors. The Surefires will get a little bit of height to them, in somewhere 18 to 24 inches tall. Great, beautiful plants. We're going to be adding a bunch of them to the gardens at the house this year. So you have the Surefires. They're going to be kind of your bigger ones. If you have shade areas, I want you to think of, some people call them angel wing, some people call them dragon wingy. Call them either whatever you want to call them, but just call them fabulous, because these are the shade begonias. Think of that Surefire in the size, right? So they're going to get some size to them. They have those nice big leaves, but they are for the shade, and they have more of a bit of a weeping habit to them. I have done them in the hanging baskets at our house on the front porch. Love this plant, y'all. It will go throughout the entire season. We had some in an aquapot here at the Signature Garden, and it was not until we hit the 25, 26 degree night that it zapped it. They were unbelievable, absolutely gorgeous. So for my shade people who want a big presence, go with the angel wing, dragon wing begonias. If you need a begonia that's going to be a little bit more smaller, a little bit more compact, then I want you to go with the Double Up series. The Double Up series is going to look completely different as far as the bloom and the habit. Has a nice natural mounded habit. You don't need to pinch it. It will naturally be mounded. It too can do sun or shade, either one and anything in between. All the begonias that I've mentioned will do great in the landscape or containers. And then the double ups, as the name suggests, they have a double bloom. The blooms are smaller, but they're more prolific. So they absolutely cover the plant and make a beautiful display. So you can have a white, the pink, the red. They are stunning and so stinking easy. So if you're looking for easy, long-lasting color, check out the begonias. Don't be fooled and think, oh my gosh, this is going to be a boring plant. No, it is not. It is going to be a stunning plant. Another plant that gets overlooked in the springtime is Evolvulus, specifically Blew My Mind XL. So Blew My Mind XL Evolvulus is one of those annuals that Jerry and I absolutely love, and we plant it every single year. This is going to be a nice low growing, has a bit of a spreading habit on it, true blue flowers that are extremely drought tolerant, extremely loves the sun, hates to be fertilized, it hates to be fussed over. This is the one that you're going to plant it in the spring. Make sure it has enough water the first week or two, and then you can literally leave it alone. Those true blue flowers, they open and close every morning. So they close with the sun when the sun goes down, and then they open up when the sun comes up. It is a beautiful plant that is very, very drought tolerant, and it too will go all the way through the entire season. They are gorgeous. So check out the Blew My Mind XL Evolvulus. Our number one plant that we recommend to our customers if they're looking to attract hummingbirds is Vermillionaire. Vermillionaire is a Cuphea. It is a very upright, very strong habit on it, kind of like a vase-like habit. So it's more narrow at the base, comes up and arches up just a little bit. Has these small but very bright orange tubular flowers that not only the hummingbirds go nuts over, but your pollinators, your honeybees and your bumblebees specifically. Does great in a container, does great in a landscape. I did it in mass behind our garden shed this season, and y'all, it was going until, guess what? The 25, 26 degree night. That is right. And so it is the definite, when all the other annuals had petered out in the garden, especially the mom ones that were flowering, that had kind of slowed down, the Vermillionaire was still going crazy, still going strong, and those pollinators were covering the plant. So Vermillionaire Cuphea is a great, great plant to put in the landscape or into containers, go throughout the entire season to attract and to help support those pollinators and your hummingbirds. That is my list of the long-lasting annuals. Now, are there more? I am sure there are. I probably forgot a few. So if you would put in the comments those long-lasting annuals that you reach for year after year to put in your garden, let's share the love. Let's share the knowledge. So stick it in the comments below so that way maybe you inspire somebody else. Because again, this was not an exclusive, all-encompassing list, but these were the ones that just jumped out at me right off the bat. Because again, we want to be smart and good stewards of our money. And so let's pick those annuals that really will give us that bang for our buck from the beginning of the spring all the way to the end of the season when that hard freeze hits. I hope this has been helpful. I hope that you have learned of some new plants, maybe got inspired, or maybe you were like, you know what, I did those years ago. I'm not sure why I stopped. Let's bring those back. Because again, time is valuable, and sometimes, you just don't have a bunch of time to be out in the garden fussing over these little plants. The annuals that I listed today are going to be not going to be divas in the garden. That are going to be high performing, low maintenance, and long lasting. If you have found this fun, informative, and inspirational, we would love it if you would like and subscribe to Gardening with Creekside. That way you don't miss those 5 videos each and every week that we bring you. Of course, it's absolutely free. So just go ahead and hit that subscribe and turn on your notifications. That way you don't miss those videos. Y'all have a fantastic day. We'll see you in the next video. Bye, friends.